Hello there. I'm still reading through some of your messages, and I'm still struggling, can I just say, to understand. Someone said Ben Habib's mother is white British, by the way. I know that. Jenny, I met her. But then Charlie Downs was basically saying that you know, there's a sliding scale of British. I don't understand. I don't understand. Linda from Worcestershire says that Reform UK have said they will not ban halal slaughter, intimating that they'd have to ban kosher slaughter if they did impose a ban. I didn't know they'd gone on the record about saying anything about slaughter, but who knows. They also said they wouldn't specifically have a policy to ban the burqa. Again, I don't know whether they've come out with a policy on this yet. I know that Sarah Pochen asked about it in her maiden speech in Parliament, and I know that Zia, you've said we haven't announced this policy, so I don't know what their policy is. Restore Britain believe British people are an ethnicity. We are a race, we are a demographic. Every other political party has a nebulous view of Britain and British people. Okay, so if British people are a race, my stepsister is not British then? I'm sorry, I don't understand. If you're going to say it, just say it. Say the quiet part out loud, okay? This is what I'm going to say to Restore Britain. Just say the quiet part out loud so we know. Otherwise, it just sounds like reform, but apparently it's not. Oh, moving on, I'm afraid, guys. That was such a long interview with Charlie. We've actually gone well over the advert break, so we're going to have to pick this up, you and I, a bit later and have our chit-chat another time. In the meantime, though, let's talk about, well, the nature of Britain today. There's some really horrible things taking place. Comedian Matt Lucas was filmed and hounded in a London tube station by a pro-Palestine protester. Matt Lucas, of course, is Jewish. He was followed and videoed by Thomas Abdullah Bourne, who then posted the clip to social media under the username White British Muslim. At the start of the video, Lucas is seen on a neighbouring escalator to Abdullah Bourne. He tries to cover his face as the protester calls across in Free Palestine, Matt Lucas. Let's bring in Jake Wallis Simons. Jake, I'm concerned about so many things in the country right now. I'm extremely concerned about Islamism. I'm extremely concerned about the harassment of Jewish people. I'm extremely concerned that we are at big risk of some sort of vile overcorrection as well. And I just don't want to see a country that we're all sort of marched around and defined according to our creed and our skin colour. And I think that that's where we're going. And I put a lot of that blame on the radical left to have forced everybody to look through the prism of race. I put a lot of that blame on weakness when it comes to the establishment dealing with Islamism and not standing up for British values, that we now have a situation where horrible things are happening across all sides at the moment. Let's talk, first of all, about what happened to Matt Lucas, a poor man just minding his own business. And this guy, white British Muslim, feels so emboldened, and I hate when they do this and they come up with just their video rolling. I've had it done to me. It's just horrible. It's a really nasty bullying thing to do to someone, when you deny someone the opportunity to say or react or do anything because you've got a phone in their face recording your every move. That is disgusting. But it's becoming all the more regular in the United Kingdom.
Yes, and Matt Lucas is... Pre-Palestine. Sorry, am I on?
Yeah, so come back. I don't know what happened. There's some bogey in the system, but you're still with us.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Matt Lucas really is distinguished by the fact that although he's Jewish, he really hasn't taken any kind of position on Israel and Gaza and Palestine at all. He's been very, very quiet on the issue for years. I remember a couple of years ago when I was editor of the Jewish Chronicle, I tried very hard to get him to do an interview with us or to write for us or whatever, and he always said no because he just didn't really want to raise his head above the parapet. And you can see why. I mean, this video, he looks quite, I would say, frightened, to be honest. He's not a massive guy. He's not aggressive at all. He's a comedian. He's confronted by a stranger saying Free Palestine to him and holding a camera up in his face. Matt doesn't clearly know what's going to happen. Is he going to be attacked? Is he going to be assaulted or otherwise abused or pursued? He doesn't know. And he tries to get himself out of it by just, again, being totally non-committal. And let's be clear, he was being targeted not because of any position on Israel. He was being targeted because he's Jewish, because he hasn't given any position on Israel, as far as I know, at all, just because he's Jewish. And Matt Lucas is a man whose ancestors, whose parents even, escaped from Nazi Germany to this country before the Holocaust. He had a relative who actually featured, weirdly enough, in Anne Frank's diary, who lodged with Anne Frank's family and appears in Anne Frank's diary. And so he's got a history of anti-Semitism. The way he's tried to deal with it is by keeping his head down and keeping himself to himself, and just tried to be British and get on with his career. And the times that we live in are such that he's been targeted in this way, allegedly because he's a quote-unquote Zionist, which quite clearly just means he's Jewish. This is anti-Semitism it's got a similar feel to Third Reich anti-Semitism. This is the sort of harassment that Jews had to put up with then in Nazi Germany before Hitler came to power. And it's something that really should appall everybody, that it's happening in Britain in 2026.
It's terrifying, and I feel like we're on a slippery slope because we've got this horrible canker in our society that everyone's just sort of ignored and allowed to happen. I feel we're now in a situation where anybody is going to come under scrutiny for what their faith is, what their origins are, how many parents are proper British, you know, both of them born in Britain. It does remind me of something that's quite toxic and vile. Let's talk about Oxfam now. This doesn't surprise me at all, this story, which is Halima Begum, which is a former Oxfam chief, has said that the charity is toxic and anti-Semitic. They've got a disproportionate focus on Gaza compared with other world crises, too quick to describe Israel's actions as genocide. She's taking Oxfam to an employment tribunal over her departure, and she's also accused the charity of racism and sexism from board members. It's not the first time that Oxfam have got themselves into a scrape. I remember the accusations about what some of their workers were doing in places like Haiti. But it is quite brave, I think, of Halima Begum to come out and say, look, they have got a disproportionate focus on Gaza, and I think that they are anti-Semitic.
Yeah, she's a good person, I think. I met her once. We were on Question Time together just after October the 7th, and she was supposed to be my kind of opposite number, but actually she seemed to be pretty decent, and we didn't disagree all that much. Yeah, I mean, you know, it comes as no surprise to me or to anybody else, really, I would think, that Oxfam has got a problem with Israel and a problem with Jews, I would say, as well, a problem with anti-Semitism. I mean, you know, the Oxfam shop near me has got lots of posters up about Palestine, nothing about Iran, for example, which is a far worse crisis that is actually going on at the moment. And the same is true of Amnesty International, of Médecins Sans Frontières, of all the NGO complex. Basically, they're all run by left-wingers who are pretty much to a man Israelophobic. The same is true of the United Nations, hugely disproportionate focus on Israel, condemning Israel at every turn. Not the same condemnation even of Hamas, let alone the Iranian regime, which they seem to be appeasing. The same in much of the was called the mainstream media, the same in many political parties, the same certainly in our institutions, in the arts, in the media, in comedy. There's this sort of groupthink that Israel is just hated even though you don't really know why or what Israel is. You just think it's some demon apartheid state. I mean, did you know, by the way, that Israel, the Israeli state, funds Sharia courts for its Muslim citizens to deal with their family issues? I mean, you try and call that state an apartheid state and try to square that with that fact. I mean, it's unbelievable. These people don't know anything.
No.
But they've just, you know, they've all drunk the Kool-Aid, and it's this herd mentality that's basically anti-Semitism. I
mean, one of the most staggering things about my recent visit to Israel was when you go to Jerusalem and you go to Temple Mount, and the people who aren't allowed up there are the non-Muslims. Oh, the Muslims control all of it. Yeah. You know, 10 gates, 9 of them for Muslims, 1 of them for other people, but you can't take a prayer book, you can't take a Bible. Yeah. It's like, oh, really? Where's the apartheid state now? I'm totally with you. Listen, I was just speaking, I don't know if you were listening as you were waiting to come on there and caught any of my interview with Charlie Downs representing Restore Britain. They are saying that they want to go well, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but they are radically different to Reform UK, who they say aren't really doing enough about wanting to tackle Islam in this country. And I would say, OK, let's wait and see what Reform UK have to say on certain topics. But I have many concerns about the changing demography of Britain, about the erosion of our culture, about there being two-tiered justice, about the levels of immigration, about the fact that Christianity in particular has been sort of derided so wantonly, while other, you know, well, Islam especially, I would say, is ring-fenced and protected. I understand all of that. But my worry is whether we're at risk of sleepwalking into something, because the radical left have been so radical, if we're now at risk of sleepwalking into something that we really need to have our eyes wide open about.
Yeah, I share some of those concerns. I mean, look, you know, Islam, the state of Islam in Britain is a very, very serious problem indeed. All the polls show that anti-Semitism is rife in the Islamic community in Britain. I think it was something like a third of them want to live under Sharia law in Britain. They want about the same proportion, which is it to be made illegal to show a picture of the Prophet Muhammad. And about the same proportion thinks that Jews have too much power over the British government and so on and so forth. So, you know, there's a serious problem with inside the Muslim community. But, you know, globally, there's a struggle for the heart and soul of Islam between the radicals and the reformists. And we've got, you know, what is it? It's about 6 million Muslims in Britain. We cannot just live in a society where we try and deport all of these people, many of whom are born in Britain, many of whom have allegiance to Britain, even though a lot of them maybe don't or object to Britain and the West. There's got to be a solution where we embrace the British Muslims who embrace us and who wish to be part of our society without, frankly, rolling out some kind of racist policy that seeks to kick them all out because they're Muslim. That would be entirely wrong. And yet, at the same time, we've got to get away from the fact that we've been so overly tolerant, and we still are overly tolerant, not willing to confront Islamism, not willing to confront hate preachers, not willing to deport the people who should be deported, to get rid of the radicals, to get rid of the Islamists. And, you know, within British Muslim societies, the Islamists, the radicals, the extremists, they're kings. They repress any dissent, they control people, they have repercussions against anybody who speaks out in favor of the mainstream and so on. And we've allowed that to happen by saying that we're being Islamophobic if we even, you know, mention that or try to combat it. It's a very difficult situation, but I think that ultimately what it boils down to is that we've kind of forgotten who we are a bit, you know, over the decades of being sort of forced to think down with us, we're racist, we're awful, we've got a terrible history. We've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten that natural ease with being, yes, we're British, we accept newcomers happily, but we won't accept extremists. And the result is a backlash of a radical overcorrection of people who are resorting to racism, to kind of a kind of radical right in response to the radical left, because the old conservatism has basically been lost. It's a really sad state of affairs. So I think the solution has got to be to get back to a kind of up with us mentality rather than a down with us mentality, to restore some of the old values that we used to have without resorting to the radicalism that we've seen perhaps from this new party.
Jake, thank you ever so much. Wise words indeed. I appreciate you.